There we go.
Hey.
Awesome.
How are you, boys and girls?
Hey, what's up?
Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to us, Bobby. We really appreciate
Yeah, man,
it.
my pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure. Beautiful day in New Jersey.
We are all in Brooklyn, so we're right next door.
Sorry about that.
Just a bridge and a tunnel away.
That's right. They used to call the Jersey crew that would go to Lemore's. They would call them bridge and tunnel babies. So
Oh, man, that's a blast from the past.
Tearing into Brooklyn on Fridays and Saturday nights, raising hell and having a good time. But we were always dirty Jersey. We were that extra borough. So, but it's good to be talking to you. Good to be on your podcast. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time. And you know, you're talking about this project Bpmd. It's a new band you formed with Mike Portnoy, Mark Mengi, and Phil Demmel. And you're listening to the stuff, the new album American Made. It's out now on Napalm Records. Seems like this was just like, guys, let's have some fun. Let's all get in the studio, have some fun, record some jams. Was that the basic idea here?
Just, I mean, you have it in a nutshell right there. You know, it turned out to be great timing, I think, based on, you know, all of our circumstances at this point, that there still is something out there that says fun. You know, not looking both hit by a jet airplane, you know, when you're crossing the street in 2020. But that was the idea. Let's get together and do some stuff that, let's say, reminds us why we did it to begin with. And this is some of the stuff I cut my teeth on as a young man. So it was, for me, it was a great departure to transport back to puberty in my youth and see what the hell was going on with these songs.
I read that each of you picked a few cover songs to bring to the table, and I was curious which ones were your picks. Which songs did you feel you guys should cover?
Well, you know, it's just so everybody knows the background. I mean, when the phone conversation started with Mark and myself, you know, some rules started coming up. And the rules were, okay, American Made, okay, the 1970s, okay, everybody picks two. So it kind of made it more of a challenge game, which kind of, let's say, added to that fun aspect that you had just brought up. I picked Evil, the rendition by Cactus, which is actually an old 1950s written by Willie Dixon in Chicago song, recorded first by Howlin' Wolf. So it's actually an old blues number. But Cactus was kind of I suppose, America's answer to Led Zeppelin, you know, at that particular time. And my other pick was another Long Island band. Cactus was Long Island. Was Mountain, Never in My Life.
Awesome.
I'm just a song that, I mean, even back in the Overkill days, Dee Dee and I were talking about, you know, putting that on as a bonus track somewhere, just sprucing it up, you know, giving it, you know, a new coat of paint for, you know, the 2000s. But it never came to fruition. So before the conversation was over with Mark and myself, I already had spit out two songs.
That's great. And I feel like Mountain is a band that, like, most metalheads today don't really hear much about, but they're so influential that it's cool that you're kind of bringing them back in the conversation like that. And I guess that's kind of the point of the album, right? Like, here are these great songs that people should remember. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think some are obvious. I think even the youth has heard Saturday Night Special or Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers. But, you know, did they hear Mountain, Never in My Life? Maybe not all of them. Not all of the youth that claim allegiance to this metal community that we're in. So, you know, for me, this was the bridge into the 80s. You know, I was, you know, I was in my teens when some of these songs were released. So for me, this was the Friday, Saturday night party music that I was listening to. And they might have been deeper cuts even back then. But I think the idea is that, you know, this whole rock and roll thing we have is a chain. You know, whether you're in black metal or death metal or extreme metal or new metal or thrash metal, whatever it is in the metal thing, it all chains back to these original type things. And again, this was kind of the bridge into the 80s with regard to the Judas Priests and, you know, even the Iron Maidens to some degree.
That's cool. And, you know, that kind of made me wonder is, like, how did you discover hard rock and heavy metal? How did it come to you? Was it like a relative or you just heard it on the radio?
Oh man, for me, I mean, I was always attracted to something that was causing trouble, you know. I mean, and it was one of those, you know, it was distorted guitars. I mean, you know, who created it? I don't really know, but I mean, if you heard Leslie West wail on "Never in My Life" or "Mississippi Queen" or "Nantucket Sleigh Ride," which were, you know, some songs by Mountain, these were three guys making more noise than six guys could make at that particular time. So, I think the attractive nature of it was. As well put together as it was, it appeared like chaos in my youth. That this was just so bombastic that, you know, the magnet to steel kind of a vibe, you know? I mean, I'd hear it and I was like moving toward it, you know? So.
That's really cool. And one other thing I wanted to briefly mention is that I know you've mentioned in previous interviews that your wife is a chocolatier and that you guys have a chocolate shop. And I was just wondering, what is your go-to chocolate?
Well, you know, that's been gone now for a 5-year period. We sold both shops. Yeah, we sold both shops. I mean, that was the business plan was to create them, make them bigger, sell them, and move on. But she had introduced me to many of the Belgium, Dutch chocolates. She had grown up on the Belgian border. But my go-to is it's a brand called Codor, which is out of Brussels, Belgium. It is just a standard chocolate you can get in a gas station over in Belgium or in Netherlands or even in Germany for that matter. But their milks, their medium darks and their darks are just killer. I mean, it's like, you know, it's that magnet to steel thing again. It's kind of it's teetering on a drug, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. Now, we could agree that Hershey's is basically the most disgusting imitation of chocolate ever created, right? Like that, it's not even chocolate. I'm offended that it's like it's associated with like American chocolate. Like it's embarrassing.
It's a gateway chocolate.
As we just spoke drugs, you're 100% correct.
It's like Bud Light of chocolate. Let's be real. It's like somewhat approximating chocolate.
Yes. Yes, it's a snack. It's a snack. It's hygienic and it's a snack. It's not the chocolates that I came to love after opening this shop. And I really didn't have any background in it. This was just or even a great love of it. But it was just something that seemed like you know, a decent business to do at that particular time, especially with you know, the other half's know-how with regard to, you know, expertise.
Okay. Yeah. Well, congratulations on the successful business venture then and selling it. And
Are you working on anything else?
Yeah, I got prostitution and guns. I run out of the basement. It's another small family. It's a little small family business.
Hey, it's the end of the world. It's a good time to get into that stuff, right?
Hey, man, you can still do that in Jersey, you know?
It's like the Lost Soprano here. Amazing.
Things here have been like pretty like we're just starting to kind of open up, and it's really weird for me that like people are almost like forgetting that there's been a pandemic. What's the scene like in Jersey? Is it a little further ahead or behind or?
Well, you know, I'm in northwest New Jersey. I'm pretty far removed. I'm actually closer to Pennsylvania than I am to you know, the sidewalks of Newark. I mean, I go in to see the Devils. That's about an hour plus for me to get there. But I'm in Vernon Valley. You guys probably know it. I mean, if you're Brooklynites, I mean, you've come up here and probably cut your teeth in the water park or snowboarded or something like so. But I mean, I'm right by the ski slopes, and it's a whole different vibe because it's so rural. You know, and I moved up here years ago because I'd spent so much time in cities, you know, when I was touring younger, and nothing bad about that, but I just wanted some kind of a balance. So up here with regard to Peter Pandemic, it's, oh, geez. I mean, it's, you know, we're spread out a little bit more. I'm on the bike. I got fast cars, working on an Overkill record. I'm doing the stuff with Mark for Bpmd. I own another business. So it's always busy. I mean, I can't say, you know, stuff has changed with regard to saying, hey, I'm going to meet my buddies on the bike. I'm going to go have a cold one and at the bar. But otherwise, I mean, there's people coming over for hamburgers and, you know, the whole bit. We're just, you know, keeping the 6-foot distance away from each other as to not reignite it up here. But we're pretty okay up here and getting back to normal, much like you city folk and Brooklynites.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned Overkill, and before we let you go, I do want to ask, you guys did have plans this year. You played some shows right before everything shut down. And is the idea to try to release an album this year, or just kind of work on it and get everything ready for when things like restart back up?
It's unique. We've always had everybody, or not everybody, but it's been tagged to us as having a great work ethic, and I've always attributed that to the way we were brought up, Dee Dee and myself, and even Dave Linsky, Derek Taylor, Jason Bittner's got the same kind of vibe with him, ingrained in him. But we punch the clock every 2 years. I mean, we early on knew what we were. And to keep visibility, we were going to have to do records at more of an alarming rate than other people. That's just as simple as it was. Maybe we hit, maybe we don't. And I think we've kind of kept that schedule. But under these circumstances, which I'm actually embracing, is that we have a little bit more time now. So we're working on stuff. I mean, we've gone as deep right now as 10 songs. The drums are being re-demoed. Everybody's got kind of a mini studio. I mean, that's just that's the modern era, I mean, you can do records here. I want to do it with the guys. I mean, I want to be in the same room with them. But the preliminary work is being done now, and I kind of like the fact that we're able this deep into our careers or our life is break the mold and spend a little more time with it. Let's not overthink, but let's rethink that one part. Let's rethink that part. So I'm really excited about it. I see something happening in 2021. I mean, this is still, the lifeblood, and I don't mean that financially. I mean it's a thing that keeps me going. I mean, it's not a career anymore. It's just kind of a lifestyle after. once you sing one time with Lemmy, it's a lifestyle.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, we're all very big fans of Overkill, and looking forward to hearing what you have planned. And what, like you mentioned, singing with Lemmy, what was that like? What was the scenario? Tell us that story.
Oh, it was killer. It was. We got there. We got the opening slot for them through their German dates. I think it was 2007. And we had toured with them prior. And and one of the things I've always liked about that, whole Motorhead vibe was, they were in it to win it, but they never forgot you. So we toured, it was a killer tour. One of our first real tours in the States was Slayer, Motorhead, Overkill. So it was, I mean, that is about as bombastic as you can get back in the 80s.
That's awesome.
And,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I mean, I've run into Lemmy or Phil Campbell or Filthy Taylor was playing drums at that particular time. Wurzel was in the band, so they're actually a 2-guitar band. And you'd run into them years later, and they'd always remember you, and that was always the great thing. But in 2007, we got this opening slot for them going through Germany, and they had just blown up in that part of Europe. They were playing. They weren't playing the 500-seaters or 1,000-seaters. They were playing 5 years before, but they were doing 5 to 10,000-seaters, which was insane. And it was the last night in Berlin, and our TM, tour manager, Eric, Big E, came in and said, Lemmy wants to talk to you. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever he wants. I'm going to go down and check it out. So he's like, I want you to sing Overkill with me. It's going to be the last show of the night. And I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah. And I know this song cold, But I'm in a panic. So I got the Sharpie out, and I'm writing the first word of each verse on my forearm because, I don't want to nervous the whole thing up and ruin the opportunity, right? I mean, for a singer, you got the first word, everything else just spills out of your mouth. So I got it, and I was up there, and he said, you can have your own mic, or you can duet, and we can go back and forth, and we were doing a little of both. And he caught me peeking at my forearm, and in Berlin, right? He's yelling at the 10,000 crazed Motorhead bangers. He's got cheat notes.
Wow, Lemmy's a snitch. Lemmy's a snitch.
He sold me out to the whole crowd. And I didn't know what to do, so I jumped into the audience where they consumed me like piranha.
That's an amazing story. That's
great. Yeah. It was. And like I'm saying, I mean, with regard to what you do that once in your life, it made the whole thing worth it. So it was. Somebody was very inspiring to me not just in a musical level, but on a personal level, and how he lived his life with no apology.
Today they just announced that they're going to be doing a Lemmy biopic movie. Have you ever like casted who should play Lemmy in a movie?
Jeez, I never thought of that. Oh my God. There's got to be some. Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. You know, I loved Walk the Line with who was it? Joaquin Phoenix did Johnny
Oh
Cash.
yeah, he did an amazing job.
I thought that was just badass. I mean, by the time I could smell that movie before it was over, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
How about you do it? How about you do Lemmy?
I don't think. I was thinking maybe like a Tom Hardy, like someone. It has to be someone British.
Tom Hardy. Jeez, I don't know, man. I mean, that's a tough question because I mean, it's kind of like that's filling big shoes, you know.
Yeah. How do you cast God?
Yeah. You know, I always enjoyed. I mean, one of the things I always enjoyed about the Pirates of the Caribbean was when they added Keith Richards. And as you can see, I'm still a Rolling Stones fan here, but you know, I'll spin the Stones as much as I spin other stuff when I'm working on a motorcycle or a car or something, you know. But I love the way Johnny Depp ate up that Keith Richards part and just and studied
Johnny Depp would be good too.
Yeah, Johnny Depp would be killer. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. Bobby, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. We really, really appreciate it. We're all such big fans of all of your work, and the new Bpmd album, American Made, is out now. It really tests my dyslexia. Make sure I say it correctly. The entire interview, I'm like, don't mess it up. But it's
write a cheat sheet on your arm, Rob. That's what you do. Something else.
There we go. Very nice. All right.
That's awesome, man. We appreciate the support. I mean, it's a fun record. It came out. It was for fun, as you brought up early in the interview. And hey, love it or hate it, it is that building block to much of the metal that we know, in our current era. So it's for me, it was just a fucking blast. And it was nice to be reintroduced to why I did this in the first place, just because it's fucking cool. That's the bottom line.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much. Have a safe day.